Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday night edition of our Officiating Zoomcasts. My name is Scott Zelkin, and I'll be your host this evening in our pre-holiday edition of our Zoomcast, where our topic this week is teamwork. And joining me as part of our team here today are two of our top amateur officials within USA Hockey, Riley Yerkovich and Kendall Hanley. And we're going to cover all different aspects of teamwork. We're going to talk about before a game, during a game, after a game, and why teamwork is important regardless of the number of officials we have on the ice. And as we do that, like I said, introducing part of our team, I want to turn the floor over real quick to our guests just to kind of introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about themselves, and as we get going here. So Kendall, welcome to tonight's Zoomcast. You are certainly a valuable member of our USA Hockey officiating team. And why don't you tell our guests or our audience a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, I'm really excited to be here. Obviously, teamwork is probably one of my favorite things to talk about, but I currently reside in Minneapolis. I've lived a little bit of everywhere throughout my officiating career. And I'm currently a member of the Officiating Development Program, in addition to being IIHF licensed and working various youth and adult levels throughout USA Hockey.
Awesome. And you also work a little bit of college hockey as well. And oh, by the way, you might be helping break some glass ceilings at the professional level too. Isn't that correct?
Yes, this season I've had the opportunity to work in the AHL, as well as I do work NCAA hockey Division I and Division III women. Awesome.
So welcome, Kendall. And I will say when we thought about teamwork, and no disrespect to our other guest, Riley, but Kendall was right at the top of the list in terms of somebody we wanted to have on when we were talking about teamwork. And with that, Riley Yerkovich is also our second panelist or our second guest here. And Riley, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself as well?
Hey guys, Riley Yerkovich. I live in Kansas with my wife, and I came up through the ODP, North American League, USHL, and now I work in the ECHL and a little bit in the American Hockey League, and I'm also IIHF licensed. Hopefully, working a tournament coming up here if it happens. We will see. Really excited to talk about teamwork. It's undervalued. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And Riley, where's your hometown?
Oh, I'm from Rock Springs, Wyoming, out in the middle of the prairie.
Yeah, and so that's an officiating hotbed for us, and like everything, we find some of our best officials in central Wyoming, and it's a unique place, but we're really proud of Riley and the fact that we have some top officials from all over the United States, and Riley's certainly a testament to that. So let's get into our topic here, talking about teamwork. And as we do that, and as we do with all of our officiating Zoomcasts, we're going to start with a poll question, or actually 3 poll questions today, just to kind of set the table, see where everybody's mind's at, and then we'll get into a presentation. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button as well as a chat button. If you have questions, please use those. And as we work our way through our presentation and our talk, we'll absolutely answer the questions you may have. So with that, I'm going to launch our polls. Some of these might be layups, some of them not, but let's give you a little bit of time to answer these questions. The first one, true or false? Regardless of the officiating system used, teamwork is important in the success the officials will have. So whether you're working the 2-official system, 3-official system, or 4-official system, how important is teamwork to the success of the game? Second, to be a good teammate, linesmen should, and then just choose one. Just worry about icing, offsides, and face-offs. Know the rules of the game as well as the referee, or only offer opinions when asked. Speak until spoken to. And then finally, true or false, all officials on the ice. If all officials on the ice focus solely on their specific roles, then the game will work out just fine. So it's the old Bill Belichick, just do your job. So let's the results are coming in. We'll give it a couple of more seconds here, and we'll see where everything stands. And then we'll close it out here, and let's share the results. So you should all be able to see on your screen the results. And yes, the first two questions were kind of our layups, and everybody here got it. 100% of the people believe that it's a true statement that regardless of the system being used, teamwork is important in the success the officials will have. That's 100% true. And we're going to talk about that. That's the whole purpose of this. When it comes to linesmen, and Kendall, we'll talk about this as well, but the old, you're just a linesman, worry about icings, offsides, picking up sticks and pucks. That really isn't true, because the linesmen need to know the rules and know the game every bit as well as the referee. Wouldn't that be true, Kendall?
It is. I picked up an earring this weekend too, so I've added that to my things I picked up off the ice. But yes, 100%.
There you go. We should have added that as an option. So we got 100% there. And now this one, we're a little bit split, 65-35. If officials focus solely on their specific jobs, then the game will work out just fine. And so what that means, and the reason we asked that question was, if all you're focused on is your own job, is everything going to be okay? Or do we all have to be able to help out a little bit in every area, even though certainly we have certain responsibilities? Riley, how would you answer that question?
I would say that we all got to pull the rope, and we do need to focus on our own jobs. But if I think that if we work as able to be, or to be successful as a team, I think that everybody has to kind of pull this, or have the same. I'm blanking on this. Like we need to be able to all pull the same weight. Like nobody is. I'm not saying this very well. Sorry. I disagree. I think that we definitely, if we all only focus on our job, something's going to get missed, because we all miss something. So yeah, I would say that that's definitely not true.
There you go, Kendall. How would you answer that? How would you what does teamwork mean to you for officials?
I think it's being prepared to step up and support one another. Yes, we do have roles to play doing our jobs. So yes, we need to be 100% ready to go in what we're doing, but I think it's also critical for the game to help one another. You might get blocked out as a referee, or I might get smoked in the way as a linesman, fall over. And I really hope my partner is watching me, or my referee partner's right there to make that call, that offsides call. You get a big penalty, big hit in the game, and sight lines matter. So being ready to step up, knowing the rules, knowing the expectations, the standard for each league, and being able to give your opinion.
Yeah. And so, and I think that was I know that was the purpose of the question. It's, if you're going to be a linesman, you want to be the best possible linesman you can be. If you want to be a referee, you got to be the best possible referee you can be. You want to know those things, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't understand the roles and responsibilities of the other people on the ice, because you may have to make a judgment call. You may have to support your partner. And so focusing on your job is important, but also knowing what the other person's job is in case you have to offer support, or even just offer a little bit of verbal encouragement. That's really important. So I think that's a great way to kind of kick off our topic. And as we're talking about teamwork, I'm going to share my screen here. We've got a little bit of a presentation like we do a lot of times with this, and we'll kind of work our way through. And if you have questions out there in the audience at any time, don't be afraid to chime in, type it in the box, and we'll get to it. So, Riley, you talked a little bit about this. Kendall, for officials, what does this mean? This means being able to support as needed, right? That's what we're talking about. And how can we do that? Is there any I in team? Do you have to, that's an old saying, there is no I in team, but is there I in team? Do you have to be worried about yourself as well?
I think for me, the INT starts, there is a little bit of an I in the team, because you need to be mentally, physically, prepared for your game. So if I'm getting ready to work in the USHL with Riley, I'm going to make sure that I launch, did I pack the right sweater? Did I bring my skates? Did I go through the rule book? Do I know the overtime procedures for that league? Different things that I need to prepare myself prior to even arriving to that arena, making sure that I am physically and mentally ready to go for that game, and therefore going to be able to support my partners because I am ready. So yeah, I think there is a little bit of that I in team at times, at least for me.
Yeah. Riley, anything you want to add?
I agree. I echo everything that Kendall had to say. I mean, how we prepare, I think, is such a huge part of how the game ends up going. I mean, yeah, there are going to be things you can't control out there, but if we can control everything that is in our control, then we're going to be a lot more successful. And that starts, I think, with preparing yourself in order to be a part of that team.
Yeah. So preparation is really important, and that is where sometimes we need to be selfish, right? We need to be selfish in terms of the best way we can be a good teammate is to be prepared, is to be mentally prepared, physically prepared, know the rules and all of those things. And, and sometimes it's hard. I mean, the reality is there are some of our officials and the way games are going, you might work 5, 6, even more games in a day. And it can be really hard to get through that 5th, 6th, or 7th game. So what are we doing? Well, we've got to make sure we're in good shape. We've got to make sure we're in the best shape we possibly can. And that's, that's part of that preparation. I threw 3 words up on the screen a second ago, and I'm going to throw it up here again. Well, it was preparation, communication, and action. So let's talk about communication. When we talk about, and let's talk about, first off, let's talk about communication before the game. How does that play into teamwork, Riley? How does being a good communicator or communicating with your partners play into being a good team?
I think that it just makes everything so much smoother. You're working, whether it's a 2, 3, or a 4 official system, communicating the responsibilities. Because, if you have 2 referee systems, say, or the 4 official system, you need to talk about, sight lines, who's going to handle, if you're the low referee, where you're going to be looking versus if you're the high referee, where you're going to be looking, your own tendencies, like I go behind the net a little bit more than some guys, or I tend to push up the wall a little bit more, and just communicating about what the expectations are. And also, if you've had these teams before, communicating about what you might see from a team, given their tendencies, what style of hockey do they play? Are they, are they physical? Are they more of a skilled team? Maybe talk about the coaches and the coaches' communication style. If I know that a lot of times, especially, at the grassroots level, you go into games, you say working 5, 6 games a day. I mean, you may have 12 different teams and you may not know every single coach, but if you do, and you can communicate with your teammates in the room before the game and give them a heads up, that is invaluable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Kendall, what else is there? What else would you want to add?
I think approachability. So for me, sometimes depending on where I'm at, whether it's, local youth or adult, or I'm prepping for a big game, in the USHL and North American League, it's if I haven't worked with somebody, maybe I reach out a couple days in advance, say, how are you? I kind of try and maybe understand, are they new? That approachability element and kind of opening that window. Sometimes you're going to work with different partners and our communication styles are very, very different. I'm a very open, would love to talk about anything kind of person, and I can talk a little too much, but I try to read other people and kind of find balance in the room. But I think whenever and wherever I go, I always try to, open that window to at least afford the opportunity for conversation. And for me, a lot of times I lead with, things that I'm working on. That can, if you get in the room and you feel like it's kind of dead quiet and no one wants to talk about what they're working on before this, adult league hockey game, I throw it back on myself and just say, hey, how are you? And here's what I'm working on tonight. What are you working on? And that translates all the way up to the higher levels. And Riley said it best. I think that the communication piece is huge. So in between, before the game, maybe even before you arrive to the rink, during the game constantly, after a period, whether you have an ice cut or maybe you're just hanging out, in front of the scorekeeper's box, just, kind of constantly keeping that open line of communication and supporting one another.
Yeah. And so, you talk about that and you bring up, you bring up a really good point about, hey, you know what, I'm going to throw it back on myself. Right. How does that, and Riley talked about maybe a big game or at a higher level game. How does that change when you're preparing to work, say, a U14 game or, a lower level game that, maybe there's not a huge rivalry or maybe some of those things. What are you talking about before the game at that point? What's that communication like?
I think for me, I, like Kendall said, try to kind of gauge the other person, or say if it's, a U14 game, we might just be two of us, kind of gauge the other person, maybe their experience level, what they, I try to kind of infer like what they get out of officiating. You know what I mean? Some people, they have, everybody has different motivations in this, I think, and we all want to give back to the game, I think, but that, and then I think for me, just opening up that line of communication of just getting to know somebody, I think it makes for a more enjoyable experience in my experience. If you can get to know somebody and not just be a robot out there, I think it makes it better for everybody.
Yeah. And I think you talk about that and I think and it's funny. I say this in every one of these Zoom casts of the various topics that I might be fortunate enough to host. And I say it all folds together, right? We do a specific Zoom cast on communication. We do a specific Zoom cast, multiple Zoom casts on rules. We do specific Zoom casts on positioning. We're doing one on teamwork, which folds all of that in together. And so, we talk about it before the game. Well, we're communicating before the game. Here's things I'm working on. Here's how I like to go, maybe behind the net more, right? So now we get on the ice. And once again, communication is a huge part of it. Verbally, in terms of, hey, here's a stand, and we're going to show some videos in a little bit, but I think communication in that regard is really important. Cody had from the audience had a question, and I think it's a really good question. I don't think there's an easy answer, but I'm going to throw it out there because we do want to share it with the group. And the question was, what do we do if we have a partner that just won't talk to us, won't communicate with us before the game, or won't communicate with us during the game? What's your advice to Cody, Riley?
It's tough because I think you run into that, or for me personally, I haven't run into that a ton. I would say try to find some common ground. I mean, even if that means like down to like the shoes they wore into the building, right? Like just like something, right? Because you can usually, I find, get people talking about things that they're interested in. So if you can, and this person may not be a jerk, they may just be shy, right? And if you can get somebody talking about something that they're interested in or something that matters to them, people tend to open up, I find.
Kendall?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a commonality aspect, and obviously it's not fun being in that cricket silence locker room, but I think just figuring out a way to connect the commonalities, and then also taking into effect who is this person? Are they young? If they're young, maybe they are a little bit less, kind of hesitant, nervous. Make it fun. Maybe they're a little bit older and more experienced, and they're just looking forward to skating up the ice and calling the game. But just looking to find that commonality, and a lot of times, like, I'll use those different tactics, like we talked about. Maybe I'll just like throw it on myself, like, hey, I'm really working on this today. Do you mind keeping an eye out? Let me know what you think. If I'm doing a better job staying out of the way, or the corner work, or whatever it might be. Kind of throw it on them, and they're kind of like, what? So it kind of confuses them in a sense. And a lot of times that'll kind of make that segue to the conversation. And yeah, every now and then I've had some really, really silent games, but I think you just have to go above and beyond. And at the end of the day, if they don't want to talk, okay, but you still got to be yourself, and you got to go out and serve the game well, and just continue to try and have that communication, with them, especially in critical moments of the game, and do your thing and call the game the way it's meant to be.
And that's that's an important part. You talk about serving the game. So if you're with a partner that doesn't want to communicate on the ice during the game, we've still got a job to do, right? And you know what? And we're going to talk about action here in a second. We talked about, communication, preparation. We're going to talk about action. And part of the action is we still have a job to do. And we're going to talk about judgment in terms of calls that involve player safety versus maybe restraining calls and things like that. And, we still have a job to do. We still have to serve the game. We still have to keep the game, officiating. The role of an official is to keep the game safe and keep the game fair. Whether our partner wants to communicate or talk to us, we've still got to do that. Whether our partner wants to be a good teammate or not, we've still got to do that. And ultimately, that's an important thing that, and Robert brings up, and I think we'll let this roll. We'll let this topic roll a little bit, because I think this is another really good question. Robert says, similarly, how about people who are more accustomed to doing a high level game and aren't into lower level youth games? So I'm going to, Robert, and you can type in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to take that to mean you've got an official that maybe is used to working a high level and now is working a U14 game or a lower level game, and maybe doesn't seem like they want to be in there, or is just kind of punching the clock. How do we communicate? And Robert says, that's exactly what I got. So, when we're talking about communication, but we're talking about teamwork, how do we draw that person out? Kendall, what are we doing in that situation?
That's where I definitely throw out the, hey, here's what I'm working on. Can you give me feedback on this? Because that person, you know what? Throw it on them. Hey, you guys, you have all these awesome opportunities to get feedback, and you're working these higher levels. Like, could you help me out? And a lot of times by approaching it that way, generally they're like, okay, that brings them at least to that communication piece. And, oh, okay, like, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. For the most part, there's every now and then you get the person who they just want to come out and skate their game. But for the most part, you just like massage that conversation a little bit, feed the ego a little bit, and you get a good response.
Yeah. Riley?
Yeah, I was thinking the same exact thing. Massage the ego a little bit. That'll generally draw people out. I mean, it is frustrating. We've all been there. We've all worked that game with that person, but anything you can do to make it less frustrating, I think is worth it.
Yeah. So now let's talk about action. Let's talk about, and when I talk about action, all right, we've talked about, I like to do this, I like to do this, or how are we going to handle specific situations, right? So how do we put that into action? What are we doing on the ice to make sure we're good teammates? Give me some examples of, Riley, what can we do on the ice to be good teammates? Just kind of rattle them off or give us some examples.
For me, I think my favorite thing to do is, especially if I'm working with somebody who's newer, and I skate a lot in the 3-man system, almost exclusively. And if I'm skating by a linesman and, say I noticed they had a really good waved icing, or they had a really good face off, or just anything like that. Like if I just skate by and like little quip here and there, and I know that's not the easiest thing to do all the time, but you can just say like, hey, great call, good icing. Just little things that it just breaks down that barrier, especially when you don't know somebody. It makes them more comfortable with you, I think. I mean, I definitely feel that way if I'm skating by and I have a no call and I'm going to the net and there's, a possible hook or maybe a stick lift and you're not sure, and you skate by the linesman coming back up the other way and they say, great, no call. Well, that just made me feel like gives me confidence to keep doing what I'm doing in my game. Is that what you were looking for? Is that kind of?
Yeah, no, well, I wasn't looking, I didn't have any specifics, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a great example, right? So we're giving them verbal feedback or verbal cues to say maybe they're on the right path, right? How about though, Kendall, you're working the lines and I'm refereeing, and you've now had 4 straight major scrums where you're working your rear end off, and I have yet to call a penalty. Are we going to try and be a good teammate and tell me maybe I might want to loosen up my arm and do something?
Yeah, and I'll take a quick look over. Hopefully they're near the pile of people that I'm breaking up, and hey, you got 24? You got 12? Like, sweet, great, let's go. A little bit of eye contact, and maybe sometimes like, and it happens to all of us, especially, night after night, working a lot of hockey throughout the season. But hey, you got 12, and then usually sometimes, most of the time, they're like, oh yeah, definitely, like let's go. So and again, that could be with a veteran, that could be with a new person. I think it's just being that moral support, and like Riley said, finding the opportunities within the game. Whether it's my partner or my lines partner or my ref partner. I love icing because then I can do the flyby with the referees. Great call. With my partner, find little things that we need to talk about real quick. Media timeouts, stoppages in between periods. So yeah, just like that constant communication and constant positivity.
Yeah, and I mean, being a good teammate is there to support, right? You're there to help. You're there to support. So like when if I'm going to say, how can we be a good teammate when it comes to positioning? What does that mean? What does that mean to you, Kendall?
If there's 6 to 8, if it's close game and it's in the 3 official system, and I see Riley on the far goal line, not that he would ever be, and we have a breakaway going into the other end, I would hope that I would be calling my blue line and then going to that goal line and covering for him. If I'm the back linesman in that situation, coming up, getting an eye on the clock, watching clock time, just being overall, did the puck cross that goal line, before the time ran out? Did it cross the goal line? So, just good situations, being a good teammate.
Yep. So recognizing when you might have to assume a different position on the ice to be a good teammate because your partner can't be there, right? And Riley's an excellent skater, so that only happens on super long passes. But in most, but that can happen, right? And that can even happen in the 2 official system. Yeah. If our partners get in trouble, right? When I talk about, if I say, how can we be a good teammate when it comes to judgment? What does that mean to you, Riley?
I think that I know we're going to watch videos about it here coming up, but the kind of deferring to your partner when they obviously have like a great look at something, say you're the high referee in a 4 official system or a 2 official system for that matter, and there's something a play going behind the net, somebody goes down and your partner's arm stays down, and they're looking right down the pipe at it, trusting them to make the right call or to have that judgment, to defer to them, I think is kind of a big one for sure in the 2 and the 4 official system. And I would say Kendall can attest to on the lines as well, like supporting each other on the lines, but also realizing that if somebody has a great look at it, then, deferring to your partner, I think is a big one. Yeah.
Trusting your partner, right, Kendall?
Yeah, 100%. The days of like, oh, this is my half of the ice. Well, just because I'm on my quote unquote half of the ice doesn't mean that my partner doesn't have a better look of my half of the ice on his side of the ice. In a sense, we divide it in quads. So trusting your partner in their judgment. Maybe they saw a tip that you didn't see on a close icing situation, or they gained that line. So I just really think communication piece and that trust kind of fall into that judgment.
Right. And on the flip side, if it's, and we talk about keeping the game safe and keeping the game fair and safe, if your partner is blocked out and it's a dangerous play, you may have to make that call. But we want to talk, this is where we fold everything together. That's where positioning, being in good position as the outside referee or outside linesman or the far linesman when your partner gets kind of caught up in traffic, making sure you're in a good place to support him. And now you're not trusting them so much. Now you're supporting them and helping them and being a good teammate because you're going to help assume that call and make the call right. Because at the end of the day, ultimately we want to get the call right. Correct? Yep. So let's do this. Let's share the screen again, and let's look at a couple of videos, and we'll see some examples. And I'm going to ask you guys to kind of walk us through these videos, and I want to make sure, can you guys see the screen again? Are we back up, Kendall?
We see action.
All right, perfect. All right, so with the word action on the screen, let's actually go to some action. All right, so let's see, what do we see here? Let's watch the play. We'll watch the play 2 times, and then I'll have you guys kind of walk us through it.
By Ryan Bishop, Margo to carry it out. 3-on-2. He bears Fitzfester and block on that line out there. Kessel to the right circle, a shot blocked.
All right, so let's go back. We'll watch it one more time. And for you, those of you at home watching, we're focusing on the linesman here.
Going to carry it out. Carry it out. 3-on-2. Hebert, Schmitz, Festrup, and lock on that.
Okay, so Kendall, what's good about this, or what's bad about this when it comes to a teamwork standpoint?
This is some incredible teamwork by the two linesmen. So I would love to skate with 90 any day. So we're looking up, obviously, as 90 recognizing, all right, my partner is got the puck, the player driving up the wall straight at him. So he sees that, and he sees his partner get pushed in. So he is hauling up the ice to get to that blue line to support that call if needed. In this situation, he does end up ultimately bailing. And then 90 takes that line over. What I love about his partner, I can't see his number to give him credit, but what I love about his partner is the fact that he trusts his teammate enough to release that line and knows that he's going to be there. So you've got hustle from one side, and then you've got trust from the other to know my partner's going to come up and help me out. And he just skates in and doesn't make a signal. And I'm sure at this point, there's got to be a lot of eye contact going across the ice. It's hard to kind of see this video, but I'd be looking over at my partner, eye contact. Yep, take my line. He gets pushed in, doesn't make a signal, allows his partner to step up and make the right call. So
Right.
A lot of trust going on here and a lot of hustle and teamwork.
Right. So the linesman on the wall, he recognizes, both officials here recognize that this play is coming up the wall. In the days of, 30 some odd years ago, when I was a young linesman just starting out, I was told, take the hit, they won't come back. Well, that's a good recipe to get run over and get hurt. And ultimately, we want to keep our officials safe as well. This official down here, he recognizes that our top official is going to get pushed down the wall. And so he's moving up and he's being a good teammate. And in this case, it's not offside, and he's able to make that play, make that call, and support in that manner. And that's a really important thing to do. And Riley, I've seen you line, I've seen you referee. We're very happy that you're a referee most of the time, but
I would agree.
This is stuff you should be talking about before the game, isn't it? In terms of teamwork, right? Preparation,
Absolutely.
communication. What are we saying before the game?
I think what I hear the most when I'm working is the linesman will talk about how do you hold your line, or how strong do you hold your line, and whether or not they are more prone to bump off or not. I'd say I hear that quite a bit, and I think it helps them just establish that communication and deciding whether or not, I need to step up for this guy or gal, and if I should or if I should stay back a little bit because the play is going to break up the other way. Communicating in the room before that can help us make the right call at the end of the day.
No, perfect. All right, so let's look at this next play. Let's see what we see here. We're back to the hardest working people in the game, the linesmen. So let's see what we see here. Well, hold on. Okay, can I play this? How do I make this go away? Oh, what are you seeing now? There we go. Let's try it now. I don't know why. We apologize for the technical difficulties. I need to make my highlighters go away. Let's see. All right, here we go. The folks in the TV truck are not helping us out tonight, so I have to be my own producer here.
Murphy at the Bobcat line sent it in. Bobcat bench calling for offside, a shot and a goal.
Okay, so this is our worst nightmare. We'll watch it one more time.
Murphy at the Bobcat line sent it in. Bobcat bench calling for offside,
Okay,
a shot and a
so was this offside?
Yep.
Right, and what happens every time we miss an offside like this?
Of course they score.
Puck
Right.
ends up in the back of the net.
The goalie needs to make a save, and the goalie doesn't make a save. Right? We need the goalie's help. So the reason we included this one, we just showed you a really good example before. Here, and if we started here, right, Kendall, if we start at the beginning and the play starts here, the play's on this wall, right?
Yep.
So our partner, and once again, this works well in the 2 official system as well, right? Because whether we've got 2 officials total or 3 officials or 4 officials, in the 2 official system, you're both responsible for the lines as well. Our linesman on the far side of the ice should recognize as this play begins to move that this might be trouble for our partner, right? And in this case, our linesman, the far linesman, is slow to react and doesn't have a good sight line and doesn't make the call, right? And the thing here, what do we notice here? And though we can't see it, what I will tell you is the linesman here makes no signal. The linesman down low makes no signal. So what are we doing if our linesman's making, if our partner makes no signal on a close play like that? What should we be assuming?
He doesn't have the line.
He doesn't know.
Right. And so are we going to make that call?
If we have hustled up and done our job properly and we know what the correct call is, absolutely, we're going to make that call.
Yep. And I guess now here's the next question. What happens if our partner's standing there waving it with a great, beautiful wave off, but is not in great position, and we know that plays off by 1.5 feet like it is there? What are we doing?
If I'm the person standing down low and I'm wrong, you know what I want? I want my partner to make the right call, and I will eat that. And then I will self-assess of how I can make the better position to be in the right place to see the line in the future. I'd rather get the call that's right for the game. And
Right.
We're there to serve the game, make the right call.
Because it's much easier to justify maybe some hurt feelings on the part of our partner versus fishing the puck out of the back of the net.
Yep.
At any level. But once again, Riley, we should be talking about that before the game, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's one of those things that it's awkward when it happens, when one's waving, the other's blowing and pointing. But if it's offsides and you know it's offsides and you have a great look at it and you know, then I think we have to do what's best for the game. We have to get the call right.
Yeah. So now, next on our hit parade, because it's December, because it's almost Christmas, it's almost World Junior time. So we're going to show you an example here from last year's World Junior. And this might actually be about exactly 1 year ago tonight that this game happened. And once again, we're going to watch the linesman here. Okay, let's watch one more time. All right. Good teamwork here, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about gaining credibility with coaches and players, and if I'm a coach or a player and I see how hard the bench side linesman is working to cover his partner, that goes a long way. You see how hard he skates to get to that line. I mean, he's putting himself in the best position to see that, because 56 has gotten pushed up for obvious reasons, and I think that a signal would have been good. Because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see him signal, but I mean, he's working hard to put himself in the right position there, and that's kind of all you can ask for. Yeah.
Kendall, what do you want to add from?
I mean, this is a really challenging play in itself, and the anticipation on this is hard because if Canada, you're looking at these angles, and if Canada wins it, well, I don't want to get beat to my line on the far side, in the far blue line. But at the same time, I'm going to be seeing my 56, race car 56. He's definitely going to potentially be in that vulnerable position. So I think it's great hustle to get up there. 56 leaves and takes a quick look over. I love just like the communication, looks over. And this is a difficult situation because you have a 22 getting on the bench there. So, you know, he gives it a quick little, hey, you got this. Thanks for helping me out point. And the other thing I love is he just releases that line completely. You know, versus, all right, I'm going to wait here. And then, oh, we're going to have a naked blue line at the other end. So when this cover mechanic happens, it's just all about trust. Trust that my partner's going to cover me, and then trust my partner's got to trust that I'm going to release. And then we're not going to have a call the other way that gets missed. So, but really good communication and hustle.
And the reason I wanted to put this one in is it's not kind of the standard plays coming up the wall, but yet eventually the plays on the wall, the linesman on there gets himself in a position, and the near side linesman doesn't do anything wrong. He's got to back off there because of the amount of bodies. His partner is able to recognize it and is an excellent skater and is able to help out and be in a really good position and sell whatever call needs to be made. And you're right, a wave off would be good there, but he's in great position there to make that call. And once again, got to be talking about this before the game. How are we going to be good teammates? And how are we going to work really well on the ice? So next, let's look at this play. And this is once again, and a lot of these, and when we talk about these, I know we're focusing maybe on linesmen, but I'll say it again. A lot of these work just as well in the two official system, because we're doing with just two referees on the ice. So here it's understanding the game situation and making sure we're following procedures that are outlined in our manuals as well. So let's watch this play just to set the scene. Third period, tie ball game, 8 seconds to go.
Just break it up, 6 seconds to play. Here's Ryan Lodbach on a head out and through. The break one, Antonucci fires one. And it's
All right, so the announcer's excited. I don't know if you can hear that, but the announcer's very excited. Let's watch it one more time.
Lancers break it up, 6 seconds to play. Here's Ryan Lodbach on a head out and through. The break one, Antonucci fires one. And it's in. Oh my.
Okay, so the reason I'm showing this, we have a procedure in our manuals to talk about end of the periods and end of games. This goal should not have counted, right? And I'm sorry, here. This goal should not have counted. And were we good teammates here to help make sure we get the call right, Kendall?
Absolutely not.
And why not?
Well, one, we got beat to our blue line. Two, if this scenario, time on the clock, I am calling my line and I am hauling to that goal line. And not just as that front linesman. If I'm that back linesman, I am hauling up the ice to get to that blue line so my partner goes to that goal line, and I'm also watching the clock.
Yeah, and so as we talk about what our 8-second drill is, this linesman here is actually going backward. And if we look at the clock, and I'm going to break out the marker again here. If we look at the clock, there's 1/10 of a second. This linesman should actually, after they have made their call, because the referee was on this side of the ice, this linesman should have come in here, and his or her responsibility is strictly to support the referee, watching when the puck crosses the goal line and listening for the horn. And this linesman who's out here should actually be focused on the game clock, wherever that game clock is. And when that game clock gets to 0, that linesman or second referee should be blowing their whistle to help in case they can't hear, or there's no confusion when the buzzer goes off. And in this case, Riley, we have both of our linesmen are out here. Nobody's paying attention to the clock. And if I fast forward it a little bit more, the clock's at 0. And trust me when I tell you, when we don't have this camera, this puck's not in the net yet. And oh, by the way,
What's on?
What else do we see?
The green light.
Yes. So Riley, when we talk about this play, why is this important, and what's our teamwork component here?
I think it goes back to communication before the game, even, in this scenario, a media timeout, in between periods, talking about that 8-second drill, who's getting to the line, which linesman is supporting on the goal line, and then also back referee or trailing referee or back linesman with eyes on that clock, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this the one where the horn didn't go, correct? Or it went late or something to that effect. And because of that, and we didn't have eyes on the clock, we were just trusting the horn. That puck's in the net before the horn, and the referee, the low referee, is obviously focused on the net, not looking up at the light right behind him. As a back referee or back linesman, I'd say even communicating, hey, I'm going to look at the light at the end of the period. You want to look at the clock, or, vice versa. I think we just have to communicate about what our responsibilities are in the crucial moments of the game like this.
Right. And do we need to do that in the locker room? Can we do that at a face-off with a minute and a half to go in the game? Right. Are we talking about that stuff on the ice as well, Kendall?
Oh yeah, along with other things that situations, if goalie's out, or hey, keep an eye, just to kind of refresh each other. But hey, 16, I'm gonna go deep if it goes in. Just little things to remind each other. And it kind of starts even before. You don't want to wait till like 16 seconds left, but just, you're getting under 5. Like, hey, reminder, we got things to do.
Exactly right, and it's no different. Hey, when we talk about icings or anything, hey, there's a minute left in the penalty. Referee's going up the ice. Referee can even say it to the linesman, hey, 26 seconds left or whatever. If we're constantly communicating, that's being a good teammate. That's showing being good teamwork. Now, let's, Cody has another good question here. And I think it pertains more because we've shown some examples here on the lines or from a 2 official system. I've had a few games where I'm lining or in a 2-man system where I move down to cover for my partner, and he's not paying attention when I do. Do I still move down to cover for my partner even if he doesn't know I'm there and he still needs help, or should I leave him be?
Honestly, I think again, communicating and talking about it. We all have those moments where maybe I'm just like, oh, wow, shoot, I should not be here right now and I should be low on that goal line. And I look over, I've had it happen where I have a good teammate who decides to, oh, Kendall's not paying attention. Great, took the initiative and where I probably should have been, maybe on the wrong side with the same referee, same side of the ice as the referee, but I'm like, oh, great. But I think at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for the game. And having that second set of eyes in those cover situations, that support role. And then you talk about it after the game or after the period or whenever that situation arises. And again, you might have some hurt feelings for a second. Hopefully people aren't hurt about that. I think I would self-reflect again and say, oh, I didn't do my job. Thankfully, my partner helped me out. So you got to do what's right.
Yep. And I think that's the best thing you can say about that, Cody, is, if your partner's in trouble, we want to get the call right. So slide down, cover, and then maybe at the next stoppage of play, when you're doing a puck handoff or a puck exchange, say, hey, I hope you don't mind. I look like maybe you might be in a little bit of trouble, just so you know I was over there. Just take a peek and I'm going to be there for you. And now maybe you're building that dynamic. And Cody, hopefully you're working with a partner that actually speaks. And if he or she speaks, then you're going to have a good conversation. So Riley, this video here is for you. It's it has more to do with kind of penalty or judgment play. So let's let this one roll and see what we come up with here.
Going to take the draw against Swade. Swade wins it cleanly. Back to Gallagher. Aiden looks over his options, shifts it behind the net, down low to Felker. Felker trying to send it up the far side. Champagny takes a big hit from Jake Swade there in the corner.
So let's show it one more time.
Going to take the draw against Swade. Swade wins it cleanly. Back to Gallagher. Aiden looks over his options, shifts it behind the net, down low to Felker. Felker trying to send it up the far side. Champagny takes a big hit from Jake Swade there in the corner. Okay,
so Riley, I'm showing this play because this hit is head contact. Mm-hmm. So why would I show this play?
I think why you're showing this play is we see the low referee who's about halfway between the goal line and the dot, and he ends up getting pushed up and then is jumping. It looks like, jumping over the clearing attempt made by the player who takes the high hit. And obviously does not see that the hit is high, whether that be because he's trying to get out of the way. So I think that this high referee that we can't see has to stay engaged and have the situational awareness to realize that play is coming at my partner. And he may not be able to see that, especially if he's jumping to get out of the way or in the middle of a pivot. Something like that. And so I need to cover for him. That, the likelihood of something happening up here is not great. We got players pretty spread out, but down here we have kind of a something that can really make our lives very difficult, because if this is this bad hit goes uncalled, it can boil over into goodness knows what. and we can't miss this one, and we have to be supporting our partner, even if play is coming out of the zone. We have to remain connected and realize that our partner had to disconnect and have the courage or the awareness to make the right call, even if we are kind of far away. I'd say we also need to be pushed up a little bit more here, if we can. If our backward skating ability allows it, we need to be pushed up so that we do have that angle and we're not making that call from 100+ feet away.
Right. So it's Kendall, it's as the outside referee, we have to recognize that potentially our partner could be in trouble here, and we can't be standing at the far blue line at this point. We don't necessarily need to be right at the blue line because the play is moving out, but if we've got to be good enough skaters to have a good angle at this, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about it. I've said it a few times. Official's job is to keep the game fair and safe. This is a hit to the head. This isn't one where we say, okay, my partner had a good look at it. We recognize our partner doesn't have a good look at it. We've got to be ready to jump up and assume that phone call, assume that penalty call, right? So, I think that's why we wanted to show that play. We have a good question here from Larry. Larry says, in a 3 or 4 official system, do the linesmen ever call penalties, knowing they see a penalty and the ref does not? Kendall, how would we answer that?
It's situational. It depends on if you got interference coming off you got to know those. Well, we have 13 criteria, I believe. But if it's an injury potential, major potential, I'm gonna wait and report that to Riley. So if I'm that linesman dropping that puck and I see he's compromised and in the air, and I see that head contact happen, again, knowing the rules, knowing the standard, knowing the expectations of what we should be doing in our league, I'm going to go report that to him and, work together as a team to make the right call.
Yeah. And I think, Riley, anything you want to add?
Yeah, as a referee, especially like I said before, a lot of 3-man system. If I can get support from a linesman on especially the violent, dangerous type of plays. I mean, if you have a hook, you see a hook, there's not a lot to be done there, right? But if there's a major game penalty, that's something that I want to know about. I mean, on Friday night, just this past week, I got blocked out by the net in 3-man system. I'm making my turn, and right behind in the corner, we had a major game interference charge, check the head, whatever you want to call it, any of the 3. And I was blocked out by the net. I didn't see it. I heard a big bang, but I wasn't going to guess. And it led to a scrum, and we were able to come together as a crew. One of the linesmen came to me and said, hey, I think we got to get rid of this guy. It was, puck wasn't there. He jumped into him, and he really, saved my bacon. So in situations where we've got major penalties, that's definitely something I want to know about and never be afraid to speak up, I would say.
I mean, look, good linesmen can make great linesmen can make a good referee look better. And being able to make those calls and see a sneaky high stick, see a hit from behind, that's really important. And once again, those are things we want to talk about before the game. For those of you in the audience, I also asked Riley and Kendall beforehand, give me a couple of examples, or give me an example where teamwork helped out in one of your games recently. And so they've each sent me a video. So I'm going to show you some videos here. Here's a video that Riley suggested we take a look at. And Riley, I want you to kind of walk us through this one. And Riley, you're down low, right?
Yep, that's me in the corner there. So this is a 4 official system game. And we've got, so I'm in the corner. Bobby Esposito is the high referee on that penalty box side. And you can see that I obviously didn't react to this hit, which is, at least a 2 and a 10 check from behind, possibly a 5 game. I'd say we're probably leaning towards a 5 in game here. you see, I didn't react because right now it's paused and you can see that there are 3 players lined up right across the crease. I had 0 angle and 0 look at this. And Bobby was able to make the call as the high referee. And we were able to assess the penalty properly there. And the reason that this all came together and we were able to make this call was because, well, for one, me and Bobby, we lived together back in coming up through the ODP, and we know each other well, and we know our tendencies well, but also even other than that, we talked in the room before the game. Hey, if we have something down the wall, if you're the high guy, you be looking at that. I'll take care of the front of the net. Kind of just, again, the communication in the room before the game allowed us to make this call, because if Bobby thinks that I am able to see this and he's looking at the front of the net and we miss this, we lose the game there. The game goes off the rails for sure. So this was just an example of me, being helped out by my partner. Because this is my zone, but that, we all know that that's not how this works. We don't have zones. We have to officiate the game in every zone, regardless of where you're at. And Bobby saved the game with this one for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And yep, that's a really good example of teamwork. So now, Kendall, let's go to yours. And why don't you show us what we're looking at here?
Coming to you from a bubble.
Yes.
Lewicki is in with a chance. That wasn't in.
They celebrated, but
Yeah, McDougal's.
So let's watch it one more time, because it's kind of tough to see the puck. It's tough to see everything.
Come on, wake up. Lewicki is in with a chance. That wasn't in.
they
All right. So what you kind of don't see is that play actually continues, goes down the ice, and we almost have a goal on the other end of the ice. So this is we're in a bubble. And the thing about this game is we don't have video review, and I would argue that most of the games that we do in our lifetime won't have video review. So we had our referee partner on the goal line. She was right where she needed to be, but this was such a rocket that I was on the opposite side, so penalty bench side, non-bench side. My teammate Erica was bench side. She started skating in. It was such a rocket that it was just that uncertainty. Did it go in? Did it not go in? And, it was just such a crazy shot. From my sight line, I had goal. Erica had goal. And then our referee partner up top had goal. However, being the good teammates we are and the mechanics and the systems, play continued because our partner was right there. We went down the ice. We get the first stoppage. We came together as a team, huddled. You can't see it on the video, but we huddled. We talked about it, and because all 3 of us, as a crew, we decided that puck went in the net. And there's a slow-mo video that I have that actually justifies our final decision. And so for me is, this video just, it was a long discussion we had afterwards about, the mechanics and what we did and how we handled it. And it was trusting one another. So yeah, our referee partner was right there on that goal line, but just because of the angle and the speed and where that shot hit, it was she didn't see it. She didn't see the right angle, but the 3 of us had different sight lines, different angles, and we were very assertive and confident in our responses so that we pulled the information together and we made the right call on the ice and what was the best for the game, that it was a good goal. And if you kind of look at all the players and the goalie and her reaction, you got the girl on the bench waving, yeah, good goal. I hope she comes and officiates with us. You piece it together as a team, because most of the time you're not going to have video one to rely. It's a tool. It's great. It's a tool in your toolbox. Or I could be in the best possible sight line right there in that goal line, and I still might not have the right angle to see that puck cross. So I think it's just using your partners and trusting in one another. It was a great play that brought a lot of discussion, with our crew that was in Placid and on. So we reset the clock and brought back a couple seconds and awarded the goal.
Awesome. Those are both great examples of teamwork. And I want to say to you guys, as we get up here towards the top of the hour, or we're at the top of the hour, you've been fantastic teammates for me tonight. You've made this this episode just fly by. Want to thank you both, Riley and Kendall, for being here tonight and in imparting some wisdom for us. For those of you at home, when we look forward here, we are going to be off for the next couple of Tuesdays as we get here to the Christmas holiday and whatnot. But with our upcoming episodes here, you'll see on your screen, we've got, tonight was our teamwork episode, our 50th episode in the Zoomcast series. We're pretty proud to get to 50. Episode 51 on Tuesday, January 1st or January 4th, just after the new year, we're going to be talking about officiating hockey IQ, talking about what is hockey IQ from an officiating standpoint, why is that important and whatnot. I'll be back in the host chair that evening with a couple of outstanding guests. Then January 18th, we're going to have a program update. Matt Leaf will be back, kind of as well as a few others of our leaders talking about what kind of update can they offer. That'll be just after the USA Hockey Midwinter meetings. And then on February 1st, we have a special episode, and it's called Hockey Community. And that hockey community episode is going to be, we're going to leave it as a little bit of a surprise. It's going to be what we think is going to be a pretty interesting and pretty special episode. And certainly, though we'd like you to tune into all of them, we'd certainly want you to mark your calendars for February 1st. So once again, I want to thank Riley. I want to thank Kendall. Thank you both for being here very much. To you, those of you in the audience, thank you. We wish you a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas coming up, and a Happy New Year. And we look forward to seeing all of you here at on another Tuesday night Zoomcast in the future. So bye for now and happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys.
Thanks, guys.